that they oppose net zero policies when he says, Ed Miliband, that the climate crisis is the biggest threat to the British way of life. Well, let's talk about this all with Donnachadh McCarthy. He's director of the Climate Media Coalition. Good morning to you, Donnachadh.
Good morning, Julia. I'm not funding David Miliband, I assure you.
Well, that's good to know. Donnachadh, should Tom Slater, should many of our audience, people who are climate deniers in this ridiculous space, should we be criminalised for saying that we don't believe there's a climate crisis?
Absolutely not. I think over the last 5-10 years, we've got to a ridiculous situation where people on both sides of the political divides are calling for each other to be criminalised for
No, you see, this is like the trans debate where people say there's only... I'd never heard of anyone...
You asked me a question and let me answer.
Donnachadh, this is the difficulty we always have. I ask you a question and then you say something that's completely untrue.
No, you say something you disagree with. That's why you...
Who has been calling for climate change activists who are simply saying what they think to be criminalised? Who's been saying that? Who? Give me one example.
Julia, I said people on both sides of the political divide have been calling each other for being in jailed.
No, they haven't.
Let me finish, please. People who actually, who were right-wing calling on the riots have been jailed for a ridiculous amount of times. I agree with you on that.
That's not for words, that's for breaking the law.
Likewise, people who actually last week came out and said they support Palestine action have been jailed for free speech.
For breaking the law?
No, for
breaking the law.
So you're actually, so what Dale Vincent is doing is the exact same thing as the Zionists are doing. They're calling for criminalisation of those who oppose them. We must be fair, Julia. If I'm actually in favour of free speech for both sides, I am not in favour of criminalising you. I am not in favour of criminalising people who support Palestine action. Okay. And I'm not in favour of people who support the Zionists.
I love the way you say that word. Okay, again, and this is the problem. Just like Greta, the far left green activists have moved seamlessly to hating Israel.
I'm a former deputy chair of the Liberal Democrats. I'm a Liberal. I'm not.
Yeah, well, you think you are. The Liberals are further left than the Labour Party as well, you know now. I voted Liberal Democrat many times when they were sane, but they're not anymore. Here's the thing. Okay, this is the classic thing. You say it's happened on both sides. It hasn't happened on both sides. There's a very big... Donnachadh, there's a very big difference between saying...
People arrested last week for their free speech.
Donnachadh, when there is a specific law that prevents people from supporting prescribed terrorist organisations, that is different from someone saying, I don't believe in net zero policies.
There's doublespeak. Well, look, if there was a law saying it was illegal to deny climate science, that would mean that people like you would be breaking the law, and I would completely oppose that.
Yes, but the difference is me saying there isn't a climate change crisis would not be I suppose the argument from Dale Vincent, possibly even Ed Miliband in private, I'm guessing, would be that actually I was a threat to the British way of life, like unpatriotic, apparently, MPs who said that net zero policies are insane. I would be a threat to the British people, because if you do believe, and do you believe that, like Ed Miliband, that the climate change, man-made climate change, is the biggest threat to the British way of life?
Well, scientists all over the world, oil companies, scientists and the military have all stated this is one of the top threats to human security. The National Farmers Union in Wales has said, quote unquote, they cannot guarantee a stable food supply because of the extreme weather that is now endemic in the UK. The Met Office report last week, which Ed Miliband was quoting, has stated that we have had the driest spring and we have the wettest winter. Farmers find it really difficult to grow food since records began.
When did records begin?
UK has the longest records.
Yes, when did they begin?
Going back to the 18th century.
Yes.
And if you look at the fossil record going back 800,000 years, we are at the highest CO2 in 800,000 years. Scientists in the oil companies predicted in the noughties, carbon dioxide being burnt by fossil fuels would start impacting our environment, but we wouldn't perceive.
I hate to tell you that in the 1970s they thought we were going to enter an ice age. That was considered to be
oil company, Exxon, Shell, and BP signed.
I thought you wouldn't trust those sort of people. I thought you'd think they were lying. Here's the thing.
They stated that by the 2020s our climate would be damaged.
Here's the thing. Even if, and the climate changes. Accept the climate changes. I don't deny there is a climate. I don't deny the climate changes. Okay, but even if it is largely, if not just, if it's tiny bit of man-made, or if it's largely man-made, even if it is, the benefits of fossil fuels and the longer life and the better life that is given the billions of people on this planet and our ability to produce food for all the people, etc., to me, vastly outweigh any concerns about the weather heating up in largely, let me finish, the northern hemisphere as it's been so far. Is it not a better case that we should be spending time mitigating these things? So more flood defences, which makes more sense, so we can, or we've already massively cut the number of people who are dying from things like floods, and by the way, floods aren't increasing. Those are official figures. But if we simply had cheaper, reliable fuel made from fossil fuels, and we could afford air conditioning, we wouldn't be bothered by a hot summer, would we?
I don't think you can go to the Welsh Farmers Union and say you're going to air condition the entire agricultural land.
I think they could probably get cheaper water and get more water and not face hosepipe bans as we've seen in some rural areas.
And as regards
built some reservoirs.
I think the ultimate duty of a government is to protect our borders. The Met Office said as sea level rise is already 20 centimetres.
Over what time period?
Since over the last century.
20 centimetres. And the sea apparently is rising in different amounts in different parts of the country, which is weird because that's not really how water works. It's actually a lot of the time is that the ground is sinking, isn't it?
It's actually scientific. You're right. You're right. The south of England is rising, and the north of Britain is sinking because of 20,000 years ago the ice caps melted, so therefore the land is rebalancing. However, the measure said sea level to do with climate change, and cities like Peterborough are facing flooding by 2030. So it's this patriotic thing to do.
I remember reports saying London would be underwater by about 2030. It's not looking like that's happening either. The reality is the scaremongering doesn't work. British people have had enough of it. They don't want to have energy bills that are sky high. They don't want to be told that a lovely summer's day is a problem, and they just don't buy it anymore, do they, Donnachadh?
Why is London not underwater when there's high tides? It's because we built flood defences and they're not.
Oh, so we can mitigate.
Well, the cost of protecting London is billions.
Cheaper than getting rid of fossil fuels, though, eh?
You can't build a London Thames barrier across the entire UK.
And we won't need to. But look, time is always against us, Donnachadh. It's always exhausting, I think, on both sides, and indeed for the audience. Coming up, we are going to be talking to Bill Browder about Vladimir Putin. We're also going to be talking to the father of a girl banned from school for wearing a Union Jack dress. This is Talk.